So for our logistic regression model based on students drop out korbe kina based on some certain factors such as socioeconomic and demographic factors, amader raw data theke we are going to dummy encode all of the information. So ekhane numeric information ache and other categorical information ache, and we are just going to encode them into ones or zeros. So for example, female, there are two categories, male and female. So I just thought female tai rakhi. So whatever category you have, you just put the value of any one. So there are many values here, approximately 10,000 rows, exactly 10,000 rows of student information, complete data set. So ekhane let's just find out the number of ones jara dropout korbe. So sum kore ber korlam 2354 rows. Okay, so around 20% of all my data are ones and zeros, so 80%. So it's not a perfect 50-50, but let's carry on. Now we are just going to take all of our ones and zeros into two separate sheets and divide them into test and train ratios. So you can find many YouTube tutorials showing how to divide your data, but one or zero ta alada bhabe randomize kore then we will take separate ratios because amader duita jinish lagbe for our logistic regression model. One, we need our training data jeta diye amra model ke train korbo, and the second thing is test jekhane amra predict korbo je student ra drop out korbe kina and what percentage of students are going to do that. So you can find many tutorials. It's not that difficult, so I'm not going to show that in depth, but you can see je ones gula shob hocche training and test data er moddhe split kore felsi, and I'm just going to take these separately into two other sheets. So copy kore niye jabo. So ones training data that you have to maintain a 50-50 split. I'm going to take 1640 rows of ones and zeros so that maximum ones are used up hoye jay for training data, and you do need more data, more information for your training model. So now that we have our training data, we are just going to make a table with all of our information, headers do diye disi. So now we are just going to make this into a table so that any further information we add can be immediately joined up into this table. So here, according to our formula, we have to add an intercept because our formula is what? Beta x plus beta 1x1. So first er je value ta okhane to kono x nai, so intercept we will consider as 1. So ekhane ekta intercept niye nibo, and uporer je table there will be our coefficients oi uporer je header tate. So we will just find out all the coefficients using solver in this sheet. Training data te amader etai kaj. So let's name this row model coefficients, and we are also going to input 1 in all of these cells as well, to the last one, to the intercept. And then we're going to add a column called linear combination and another column called sigmoid. Sigmoid er kajta etai je eta linear combination amra jegula ber korbo eta 1 আর 0 এর মধ্যে ভ্যালু গুলো দিয়ে দিবে, and we're going to add another column যেখানে আমরা probability গুলো লিস্ট করব using our linear combination and sigmoid. So now we're just going to calculate linear product, which is the sum product of the arrays in the first row of this table. So this is what? These are the betas. Sorry, these are the x's, these are the variables jeta diye amra predict kortesi, into uporer je rota seta hocche giye the coefficients of our x variables jegulo amra solver diye ber korbo. So that is our linear combination. As you can see, there are values of 8, 7, 6. So egulo amra chai jeno 0 or 1 er moddhe ashok. So that is the function of sigmoid transform. So we are just going to transform these values using the sigmoid function. So this is the formula, and then we have our values. So সবগুলা 0 আর 1 এর মধ্যে, and as you can see সব হচ্ছে গিয়ে more or less 1 এর কাছাকাছি. Then we're going to measure our probabilities. যেটার values sigmoid-এর values-টাই আসবে, column we are going to calculate the probability that the model assigned to the actual outcome that occurred. So dropout-এর যে prediction-টা দেখতেছি আমরা and the sigmoid values, ওইটার রিলেশনশিপটা বেসিক্যালি আমরা probabilities-এ দেখব. And then we are going to use the natural log or ln function in the same formula, because we want to transform, as you can see same value gulai ashbe, sigmoid er je values gula ogulai ashbe. So we want to transform that bounded probability into an unbounded range, jeta diye amader model der coefficient gula actually ashbe ar kaj korte parbe. So now that we have calculated the probabilities, we are going to find the likelihood of our probabilities actually matching with the dropout rate, ones and zeros jegula. So we are just going to sum up all of our probabilities, and we get a very large negative value. We want to maximize our likelihood of attaining the optimized coefficients. So ejonno amra je solver e option ta dibo seta hocche giye max, and the coefficients are the model coefficient row, a row ta. So we are going to choose that and choose the constraints of, well, I'm choosing between 3 and -3. So 1 এর থেকে একটু বেশি নিলে বেটার হয় ফর লজিস্টিক রিগ্রেশন. লিনিয়ার মডেলের জন্য you can take 1 থেকে -1, বাট লজিস্টিক রিগ্রেশনের জন্য একটু এক্সপেরিমেন্ট করে আসলে দেখতে হয় যে কোন রেঞ্জটা ভালো, বাট ইউজুয়ালি 5 পর্যন্ত নিলেই বেটার. And here are the results after formatting. So now we are going to the test data set, যেখানে আমরা বাকি ones and zeros নিয়েছি, and there 50-50 split না হলেও সমস্যা নাই. So now we are going to find the linear prediction, but আমরা যে model coefficient গুলা পেয়েছি last sheet-এ, ওইটার সাথে we are going to sum product the x variables, and we are going to add the intercept at the end, not include in the calculation earlier. And probability আমরা same formula use করব. So now that we have gotten all our values, performance sheet, we are going to find the minimum and maximum of the probabilities that we got in the test data set. So minimum of the probability in the test data, ওইটা বের করব, and the maximum value as well. Okay, so now we have found the minimum value, which is 0.03 approximately, and the maximum value approximately 0.91. So we are going to select the cutoff value that is the minimum, and এখান থেকে আমাদের cutoff value গুলা শুরু হবে, যেটা দিয়ে আমরা false positive rate and true positive rate বের করব. So what is false positive rate and true positive rate? True positive rate হচ্ছে গিয়ে যে আমার মডেল দিয়ে যে কয়জন স্টুডেন্ট ড্রপ আউট করবে আমি প্রেডিক্ট করছি, ওইটা ডিভাইডেড বাই দ্য নাম্বার অফ অ্যাকচুয়াল স্টুডেন্টস হু ড্রপড আউট. অ্যান্ড ফলস পজিটিভ রেট হচ্ছে গিয়ে সেম জিনিস, যে স্টুডেন্টগুলো হচ্ছে গিয়ে ড্রপ আউট করবে না বাট আই প্রেডিক্টেড দেম অ্যাজ ড্রপিং আউট ডিভাইডেড বাই দ্য নাম্বার অফ স্টুডেন্টস হু অ্যাকচুয়ালি ডিড নট ড্রপ আউট. So true positive rate is basically true positives divided by true positive plus false negative. So this is just the proportion of actual dropout cases যেটা আমরা correctly identify করতে পারছি. So for example, if 100 students actually dropped out and আমার model যদি predict করে থাকে যে true positive rate 80%, তাহলে আমি correctly 80 মানুষকে হচ্ছে গিয়ে আইডেন্টিফাই করতে পারছি কারেক্টলি। And false positive rate is false positives divided by false positive plus true negative. So this is the measurement of the proportion of actual negative cases jara dropout kore nai and jader model incorrectly flag korche as positive dropouts. So again, for example, 100 students e jodi 39 of them 39% ashe FPR, then my model mistakenly labeled 39 of them as at risk. True positive rate ke amra sensitivity বা recall boli. We are using the let function. Let মানে হচ্ছে গিয়ে মানে আমরা একটা নাম দিচ্ছি জিনিসটাকে, and we are just doing the regular formula, but Excel obviously it looks very complicated. And we got our false positive and true positive rates. প্রথম দুইটা 1 আসবে, and we have a diagram as well, which is the ROC curve. So এই দুইটা জিনিস প্লট করলে we get our ROC curve, and ROC curve has to be that kind of a curve. So এটা যদি diagonal straight line আসে, then that means there is something wrong with the model, because it's basically like flipping a coin. So it definitely has to be, the area has to be more than 50%. So in my case it is around 77%, which is pretty good. Could have been better, model maybe কোনো problem আছে, but it's still better than a random guess, and I hope you learned something.